Good morning, everyone. So in this video, I did rectification, my very first one, like actual trying to, and we ended up doing, I believe, just the natal itself, the reading, as full as as completely as I could do it. And then we got into, yeah, we did a bit of progression as well. In the first few, I don't know how long, you're not going to see their face because it's just we were kind of going through the rectification process. I wanted to kind of, yeah, I just went with it. It's going to open up this window. So do you feel like we usually start with the ascendant. Mm-hmm. So do you feel like your people see you as like serious? You get that view a lot from people, like first impression wise kind of thing?
Yeah, I'm not too sure. Maybe.
Okay.
Do I look curious to you?
No, not really. No, so it would either it could be we'll have to then. Okay, so you said midnight. Yeah, this is part of the whole thing. So we'll have to switch it up, and we'll have to see where we go from here. So your what did your parents actually say? You said 12 a.m. or past midnight?
Gosh, I just remember my dad saying that it was like, like during the night.
Okay, that's a big one.
Yeah,
okay.
I know. So,
Okay,
and my parents are they both passed away, so I have no idea.
That's okay. Let's try this one. So at midnight, your ascendant was in Sagittarius. So do you dress kind of sporty? Like based on what I see, adventurous. People perceive you as adventurous. People see you as a sort of risk taker.
I definitely can be spontaneous, and I definitely have more of a masculine energy.
Okay, that's what people see. Okay.
Yeah, and that's how I feel. Like I don't feel all my life. I'd never really felt so feminine. I was definitely more masculine. I wasn't good at sports, but like, yeah, it's like, yeah, I was a bit more kind of. Could be to do with my trauma though, but yeah, I was a bit more. I felt a bit more masculine.
Okay. Well,
Thank you so much for doing this.
No problem.
By the way.
No problem. We'll see. We'll figure something out. And if we don't worry. It's just part of the process that I do. It's like
yeah, and it's actually so incredible that you can somewhat read this through the charts.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So you said thank you. So you said that it's okay masculine. So either more like the outgoing signs, so Sagittarius or even Aquarius. So if do people think you're unpredictable? Do people say that about you?
Yes.
Okay, then I think it's definitely past. It's definitely past. We'll go further than 2. Let's try 2 a.m. Because I can look at the ephemeris. That's not it. It's still in Sagittarius. It's still in Capricorn. Go with the hour 3. Okay, so now it's in Aquarius. Okay, so we'll start with this one with 3. Let's go. I'm going to change this a little bit and go 250. Because every 10 minutes, usually the houses kind of shift.
Wow, yes, I think I heard that as well.
250. Oh, sorry. What happened there? Did I not? Why did I? Okay, let's try that one. Okay, it's right there. It's right there. It's literally like 0 degrees. Okay. Now with this positioning, the next one we would go to is a strong. See, what Saturn is not, Saturn is in retrograde, so that means that Saturn is a very dominant planet, but it's Saturn is in retrograde here, so that means more of an internal thing. It's not an external exposure. It's not expressed. So it's more of a personal thing. We're going to go with something that's not retrograde, most likely the moon. Here it describes that the moon was in Pisces. So this person has a tendency, this could be you, or the baby before you, or after you.
Yeah.
Describes, okay, so I see here that the moon was conjunct. Let's start with moon in the second house. Moon in Pisces in the second house. Conjunct Mercury. Very easy. They express their emotions easily. Very much, but highly intuitive. Highly intuitive because it's in Pisces. So naturally that would still be you. But do you feel like you have a sort of a knowing about how to be, you're kind of more like, I guess you can say self-aware of your own finances, how you handle money, your self-worth. Do you feel like that? Because it's in the second house. How would you describe your
Yeah, I definitely I'm actually not so expressive. Like I hold I can put a lot of facade on, as in with my emotions. I can hold it inside and still feel it, but like not show it so much. And
okay.
And intuition wise, I never felt that I was really intuitive. It's something that I'm working on. And now finally, through a lot of meditation, I'm finding my intuition bit by bit. But it could be to do with a lot of my blockages and trauma from my childhood that I
Okay. Well, excluding the houses, what happens here is that the moon and Mercury was square Uranus. So a lot of internal processing, like Uranus here, Uranus represents sudden changes, unexpected things that you do that are unusual. So with the block that you're probably talking about, I would say because it's more internalized, so you probably go through unexpected experiences. Where do you feel you experience sudden, not sudden changes per se, but yeah, sudden changes, or how you, it's a sort of a nervous energy. When Uranus is in retrograde, Uranus is not about the sudden changes like outside. It doesn't feel like it's coming from outside, it's from coming inside. And it's, you kind of process this sort of, you process genius internally, and you start to you also kind of question it. There's this insecurity about it, and you kind of like, okay, I don't know. So that's going to be true, but where in your life do you feel you you experience these things, even the weird stuff, where you process your own weirdness, your own, how you're very, smart, and like, how do you feel where do you think in your life that happens? Would it be with people? Do you feel you have weird experiences with friends, or you feel that they think you're weird? Or is it more like in the 12th house where it's in your dreams, you probably disregard that? You kind of like shove it aside. It's like, I don't want to be weird. I want to be accepted.
Yeah, I definitely think I'm weird. And I love weird people as well.
Okay.
And
okay.
yeah.
Okay, sure. We're probably
I studied art, and I loved being in the art school because I could be as weird as I was, and even weirder if I want to be. And everyone else was so weird, and I just loved it so much. And and I guess I came with the change that you told me about. Like I definitely feed off from being spontaneous sometimes. So I could be, like suddenly I'll say like, okay, I'm gonna go traveling and I'll do this. And then I love just like doing last minute changes and, well,
Mm.
not with people, but like, oh, if there's an opportunity, if my friend says, oh, I'm here, do you want to just come? Then I'll, I'll go.
Okay, that makes sense. It
Um,
feels like Uranus here applies to the ninth, to the 11th house, because you did say travel. Uranus in Sagittarius, even retrograde, is you enjoy a certain sense of like your sense of adventure comes through being you like foreign things. You enjoy the
yeah,
hot, yes, okay. And you're very committed to that because you have Juno also in retrograde. You feel like it's something that you're married to the idea, probably almost literally, because Juno is loyalty, Juno is commitment, Juno was Hera in Greek mythology. She was the wife
mm,
of Jupiter or Zeus.
yeah,
So she was about loyalty and commitment and long-term relationships, long-term like connections, a long-term like attachment, a long-term sort of like, uh, yeah,
yes,
okay, good. I can definitely say that you are intuitive. You just probably have, like you said, that block. It probably
yeah,
comes and goes, but
yeah,
most prefer.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, okay,
yeah.
okay. Where do you?
I definitely,
Go ahead,
yeah,
go ahead, sorry.
yeah, I definitely feel the guidance.
Mhm.
Like when as I more the more I meditate, I definitely feel the messages and the guidance. But then I guess I'm still working through self-doubt. I guess a lot of people do, and I think that's what's hindering me from
Mhm.
really trusting my intuition.
Mhm. Mhm.
But yeah.
Okay. Well, okay. We're still not sure where the moon is here, because if I go further down into the ascendant here, and if it goes down to here, the moon will switch to further into the second house, and your sun
Yeah.
might end up in the third house. What do you most identify with? Do you find that you identify with, obviously it's Aries, I can see right here, but Aries is connected conjunct to Eris, which is actually ironic because Aries, I don't know if you know much about Eris. Eris was the goddess of discord
Mhm.
in Greek mythology. She was the one who um, she plants the seed of chaos so that there is order. She
Oh,
she's
wow.
she's a pacifist, discordant warrior. She was the sister of Ares, or
Yeah.
god of war, yeah. And so she's like basically the way I see her, she's like a catalyst. Again, Eris though is pretty new. She's like a new planet. She's a new planet. She's the one who brings about because right now Eris is still in Aries. It's
Mm.
about that openness of what that if okay. So if Pluto, I don't know if you know much about Pluto. Pluto is the king of the Plutonian planets. He's the one that reveals the truth, and kind of like,
Mhm.
and I'm gonna swear here, okay? He's the one who
Oh, great.
fucking flays you alive, and just goes and then reveals the truth, reveals the truth, reveals the truth, reveals the truth. Especially with retrograde, for you, this would mean that if it's retrograde, naturally it means you have an internal processing of what it means to have real power until you finally say, I give in. Because you kind of
Mm.
question your own strength and your power. You go through that process, you're like, I'm not sure how you feel like I can't control this, especially with its opposition to Venus. Ah, okay. Um, Balancing what gives you pleasure versus internally processed power. Like when you
Mm.
have Pluto in retrograde, it's a doubt of your own abilities, your own willpower, your own. It's more than Mars. Pluto is
Mm.
a high vibration of the higher vibration of Mars, so it's more than willpower. It is inner core change. But with the retrograde, it's like definitely much like it's in there. You probably don't even realize that you probably maybe give in your power to relationships. You say like, okay, it's at home in Taurus right here. So Venus
Mhm.
in Taurus is this whole um, you just like pleasure. You know what you like. You know what it's not in retrograde, thank goodness.
Yeah.
So it's a feeling of I know what I'm doing. I know what pleases me. I know what, and you're kind of like very stubborn about it, but you're also at the same
Yeah.
time like you know how to get along with relationships. You know what pleases that person. You know what pleases you.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
mhm. And at the same time with Taurus there, because it's right at home, it's what you call it's dignified, meaning it's in Taurus.
Oh,
It
okay.
means that you're you you attract simplicity in your life. You attract people who are probably also kind of easy to get along with.
Mm-hmm.
But with the opposition there, again, we don't know exactly if Pluto was in the ninth house or the 10th house. We don't know. It's Venus here. Yeah, you draw people probably are that are you draw people that have a lot of financial concerns.
Mm.
Do you draw that in? Do you kind of do you get people your past relationships where they kind of like with like people with financial concerns or like they or maybe they're rich or maybe they're poor. Was there an unevenness with like how
Oh,
you
yeah. Oh, okay. So concerns. Um. Yeah. So my ex was definitely. I mean, like we weren't wealthy or at all. Like when we met in university, but
Mhm.
he definitely became very successful, and there was a lot of money.
Okay.
Um.
But how okay. Where do you find yourself spending most of what gives you pleasure? When I say that, I mean like I'm gonna go here with Venus. Venus is where you I'll give you the right words here because we have to use the right vocabulary in
Yeah.
astrology sometimes. It's where where we do what we really enjoy.
Yeah. I enjoy um like fashion, like clothes.
Okay,
That's
pertaining.
my
Okay,
yeah, that's my biggest I guess attachment, I think.
clothes. How in what way? How are they? In what area of life are they expressed through with your siblings, family? Because if it's in the third house, that means you like getting along with your. In this placement right here that we see right now, this means that this
Hmm.
person gets gets along with their not really gets along, but they are this liking of simple things, like simple earthly things, is expressed through how you communicate that. So you're also it's your self worth as well. You're able to express your own ideas and what you like and what you enjoy clearly because it's in the third house. If it's not in the third house, then that means you express it through your family. Which one did it appear more in? Like just communication, or was it more like? Do you think you were brought up to like this? Does your family have?
Um, no, I think it's more me. I was just always so obsessed with beauty
Oh, okay,
and
okay. I see the
um,
obsession there. Okay, with Pluto. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
just like
Mhm.
even like just looking at other people, like if they how they like the interesting textures and the clothes and stuff, all this stuff. I was just always so interested,
Okay.
and I got to really learn not to be so. So I worked in fashion for like 5, 6 years, more than that actually.
In
Um,
fashion. Okay.
yeah.
Okay. It didn't move up that much when we moved 1 hour later approximately.
Mm.
Okay. Um, do you have a good sense of? Did you ever feel like you also had a good sense, like your body? How do you feel about how you've come to, how do you call this? Because if it's, okay, with this placement, we have the moon, Vesta, and Jupiter. Technically, Vesta is conjunct to Jupiter, but moon is not conjuncting Vesta. What this really means by this placement alone is that this person has a very sort of, they have a good sense of what's surrounding them, especially like with the skin. It's the moon is magnetism. The moon is, but with conjunct with Jupiter, it's like an expansion of it. It's like you can sort of sense when things are happening, and you have a sort of like with Vesta, you feel a certain sense of, it has to be a certain specific way, meaning pure, basically, because Vesta is sacredness, devotion. When you have that conjunct Jupiter, it's a devotion towards your own emotional growth. Emotion meaning like the moon here. So do you feel
I definitely do have a lot of devotion.
Okay.
Spiritually.
Okay, but yourself, not so much when it comes to, like, it's not pertaining to finances or riches, or let's go further than that. So finances, or sorry, every time I switch windows to my notes, it's like slow down. So the second house, the second house is possessions, except real estate, investments, earning power, gain or loss through your own efforts, inner talents and resources, your need for fulfillment, emotional feelings, which is like Venus, but not really like deep, basic, nurture, basic needs kind of emotions. The moon is deeper than Venus, I would say.
Okay, yeah.
It's your soul also. So here, but the second house is still, okay, emotional feelings, sense of self-worth, values, money as freedom, personal liberty, and material debt. So do you feel like it's more to do you have any second house stuff? Like, do you feel like, describe what yeah, go ahead.
I think so. I absolutely feel that. That hits really,
okay,
deep for me. Like, as in, finances, I always consider finances as security.
Okay.
So that was really important to me. And also power as well. I always felt that was to do with security as well. And I also, like deep inside, I always wanted power, and like,
okay.
I did value, like, in my past, when I was younger, definitely valued like material possessions and all this, and I think, and also self-worth. There is something really huge that I had to go through to really truly realize my own self-worth, because I felt like I was really holding on to all this power and wealth and blah blah blah, wanting all this, because I really didn't feel my own self-worth. So they were actually my huge learnings, I feel like. Definitely materialistic things, power, and wealth, and even like my own self-worth, how you look, like all this.
Okay. Well, that's okay. Because we have Mercury here. Mercury, if this is what your chart is, close to what your chart really looks like. Mercury, the second house, is the ability to communicate your own self-expression, basically, so that you act. It's a kind of like you're able to communicate what your worth is. Your own, what's important to you. You probably also go into things that relate to the expression of financial security. So that means like I don't know if you've ever do any jobs that pertain to high-paying jobs with communication, like, I don't know, an orator, maybe not a
Yeah,
journalist, a news, something to
yeah.
do with communication, something to do with, let me get back to it. Careers for Mercury. Okay, keep going. What were you going to say?
Yeah, I'm not really good with words, to be honest.
Ah, okay. Well, yeah, that makes sense because you have, it's Mercury in Pisces. But, okay. So Mercury in Pisces is definitely it's more about intuition, feeling from the ethereal realm. It's an idealistic way of communication. You kind of feel like you want to just, it's almost like you want people to just read you.
Yeah, I'd rather that. Yeah, I'd
Okay.
rather that, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm just not sure what house it's in. So it's the houses that are kind of, tricky here, but that's fine. It's normal. We're kind of close where we are. Um, where do you feel you have? So, do you know about the nodes? Are you familiar with the nodes?
No, actually,
Okay.
yeah, no, I don't.
Okay, so the north node is, first of all, the two nodes. There's a north node. So north node here is 29 degrees in Aries,
Hmm.
and therefore it's in 29 degrees Libra was your south node. So that explains to me how you, what do you call this, are very used to being there for others and going with what they want. It's more about the reaction versus the action. It's
Mm.
relationships are comfortable to you. It's kind of a fallback. Your south node is your fallback. It's the tail of the dragon. The dragon is the head. The north node is the head of the dragon.
Yeah.
We're talking like your past lives. Your past lives, you were used to actually just allowing people to tell you what they want. You always wanted harmony in relationships. You didn't look out for you. It was more about, um, again, keeping the peace, right?
Yeah, I'd rather do that,
Okay.
just make everyone comfortable.
hmm
And
But
then,
hmm yeah, but in this case, it was, this is the how if this is the chart, that means it's in 29 degrees Libra right here. It's in the ninth house, so that means that you're comfortable with allowing people to kind of tell you what to do in business. And maybe foreigners kind of give you an idea and hear, and it feels like you're just following through. You're just doing what they're doing instead of taking ownership. But now, the goal is now is to acknowledge your north node where you're headed, so that
mhm.
way it's in more about getting the facts straight so that you attain form of independence and freedom for yourself, being by
Yes,
yourself and learning. Okay, but is it
yeah,
is okay? Okay,
yeah. Because when I was younger, I definitely rather keep the harmony and just you know,
okay.
it was
Wow.
easier for me just to let other people do what they want to do, and I can just follow. Like
Okay.
I felt so much more comfortable just doing that.
Was it okay? Was it with foreigners or was it with like your because it was also part of your reputation?
Yeah, well, foreigners, you mean like just
Foreigners.
strangers?
Yeah, for you
Or
in your case, non-Koreans.
oh, okay. Yeah, absolutely. Because
Okay.
when I
hmm
immigrated to New Zealand and Australia,
hmm
yeah, and even when I was, yeah, yeah, foreigners, yeah,
So
I rather
okay,
do that. And
okay.
yeah,
Was
now I'm more assertive in,
you're
doing the
learning
way I want to
exactly,
do.
and so
Absolutely. I would never just follow people now, but
good.
there was a huge chunk of my time where I just rather follow. Just easier. Just so much easier. Just like, okay,
Okay,
let's
no
do
problem.
that. Like
Okay.
what the other people think. Okay, let's do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're kind of on the right track here. So it looks like you're probably around later 3 a.m. ish. Okay. You're born around this time. Again, we don't know the exact time yet. Um, what else? Okay. I'm looking at, um, which is funny because the North Node, pardon me, is in the 29 degrees Aries, and that means it's really, really close to Taurus. It doesn't make you Taurus. It doesn't make your journey more about the Taurian thing. It's more about, the way I understand this is something to do with change, something to do with something like, it's almost like your journey is towards the future is more. I'm not talking about the future. I'm talking about you following your North Node. Following your North Node means you're following your what people call destiny, but it's not really destiny. It's like the whole chart of a person is your soul contract. Okay, it's what you chose to do before you forgot it. It's what you chose to go into in this lifetime.
Yeah, wow.
It's your whole chart. So there's some kind of change there, but let's not get into that because that one's confusing for me. It might be I could be just applying a different type of astrology to this type of astrology because you know how there's different disciplines in astrology.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah, like Vedic astrology and all this.
Though that's more like yeah, there's Vedic astrology, which is like sidereal. It's also called sidereal astrology. It's in India. They read it slightly different. I don't know anything about that. They have different terms, but it's similar. Anyways, so what I do is I'm used to using Western or tropical astrology. Yeah. So in any case, do you feel like you identify? Okay, I'm really like this one right here. The Moon Mercury thing is bothering me because I'm like, is the Moon in the first house or is it the Moon in the second house? If the moon was in this first house, that means you have this perception. You have this deeper instinctive perception of how your body should work and how you look as well, like your appearance, generally speaking, not really, sort of more like your body, your health as well. If it's in the second house, that means that you have a deeper instinctive perception or understanding of how to handle your finances, like your self-worth and all that stuff. So it could be either. Which do you think? Yeah. Which do you think it's in, first or second house? I feel like
I feel kind of similar. Both it resonates with me. Yeah, because I'm very It feels very first house, but also self-worth and all that is like a big learning and part.
Okay, because it is conjunct to Jupiter here, so it kind of they work together in this area. So it could be, yeah, it could be that you're, yeah, okay. What else? Let's see here. Let's take a look if we change it 1 hour later. Let's take a look. Let's have fun. Okay.
Yeah.
4 a.m. Let's do 4 a.m. Because they said at night, but night could still be 4 a.m. Oh, okay. So now, okay. So now the identity here is where you have this curiosity about you. You identify with the Aries thing. You identify with, it's like it's me. It's I'm playful. I'm present. I'm childlike. I like to be curious about things. I go here and then there and then yeah. But it's you said fashion, right? So so is this does finance as money give you a sense of, does it make you like, does your sun kind of shine in that regard when you have money, not communication? Because third house is communication. It's your expression of your skills. It's also taken for granted skills, by the way. So where's it more toward? It's more about, do you feel like money is the one thing, or resources, when you have resources, it makes you feel like you're shine, like you shine, basically.
I think so. I think resources.
So something between 3 and 4 a.m. Let's try 3:30. Do hospitals in South Korea keep any birth certificate records?
Yeah, I should try to find out. I don't even know where I was born.
It's okay. In the
I mean,
meantime,
like, I know it was Seoul somewhere. But.
okay. Where do you feel like you? So your pleasure. Let's go back to Venus. Where do you feel your pleasure most likely? What gives you joy? Like, what gives you pleasure? What makes you feel sensual and like at ease with yourself? Or where you find you're more dominant in terms of not dominant, where you feel you enjoy connecting with others? Is it through when they have? Is it through financial things like money matters, or is it through communicating?
Um, Pleasure,
Yeah,
I find most in like connecting and beauty.
connecting. What do you mean connecting? Because
Um,
beauty is still like that's still Venus.
yeah, okay. Like in more spirituality, that's my that's my
Oh,
utmost pleasure.
yeah, that explains the Mars Neptune conjunct right here. So it's trying to it's trying to Venus, which makes it sort of like you have this easy sort of harmonious connection with sexuality, but a higher spiritual sexuality. It's like up there.
Hmm.
Yeah. Okay. But
Yeah, like the most beauty I find is in, spirituality, in meditation and
okay.
yeah.
Hmm. Let's see if we can. Where did you have to process? I'm gonna go deeper here. I'm gonna just risk it. Okay, I don't care.
Absolutely.
Is it? Do you feel? Have you ever questioned like self care? Like, have you ever experienced um, where you had to take care of yourself because your parents didn't take care of you, or vice versa? Where do you feel like you're both the parent and the child? Where you feel like you're parenting yourself?
I always felt I had to parent myself actually.
Where in what aspect of life? When it comes to general relationships, did you transform through it? Was it through hidden things like that's the eighth house? Where do you
Um,
think?
Gosh, just because I didn't really because my mom I didn't have mom since I was 8 or 9.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then so I was with my dad, but then I had an abusive stepmother. So my so I couldn't really receive any care or direct
Oh,
care or
okay.
love
I
from
can see.
my parents, like my dad as well, because
Okay.
he had to be on my stepmom
Okay.
side.
Hmm.
So in that sense, I always felt that I had to look after myself, and I moved out when I was 15, and I started working and paying rent and going to high school, and so like, yeah, so I always felt I had to look after myself. And then later, like in meditation and all this, I felt
Ah, okay.
that's when I really felt, gosh, like I have to become the best parent for myself, really. And
Yeah, that explains the Chiron here in Gemini. Chiron in Gemini is wounding and losses through a connection through being able to know and also communicate, specifically with the family. So that explains it. But it's also opposite of Saturn here, which was in retrograde. So you had to internalize these limits, these fears that you had with
mm,
Saturn there. But it's basically a what you call if I could show you if I could draw in here I would. But basically you see how the nine Saturn here is in Sagittarius retrograde, 9 degrees. You see that?
yeah,
That's opposite of your Chiron in 10 degrees Gemini, fourth house. That explains the separation from a
mm,
financial provider specifically because it's more dominant in the 10th house. Saturn
mm,
in the 10th house is actually at home. It's So
Okay.
fears and limitations that you had to conserve, you had to kind of prevent yourself from being out there. You had to prevent yourself from taking risks and going into different, venturing into life itself and experiencing what life has to give. Specifically, like maybe in a foreign country, because it is
Mm.
Sagittarius, but it was also square to Ceres, which was in retrograde. So that explains that. Okay, so we're really kind of close. So you're probably
Yeah.
around 3:30ish, between 3:33ish, 4. Okay, okay,
Wow. Okay.
okay.
That's
Um,
incredible.
you said though earlier, how do you where in life do you express your communication? Like just communication itself, not the sense of communication. Where in life is it through self-expression itself, which is also the first house, or is it your when you express your worth to people? Where do you usually express it? Where in life? Do you think it's a first house thing or a second house thing?
I think it's more first house.
Okay, so okay, now we're really close. Okay, you think it's more first house. Okay, if you think it's more
Yeah.
first house, if it feels more first house, that's good. So your north node is now in the second house because of this. That means that your north node is not only with like discovering your own freedom and how to be a leader, how to be independent, um, all that kind of stuff like me, but also independent with money, independent with your own resources, whether it's figurative resources or literal resources.
Yes.
So that's where it is. You feel that this is where you're
Absolutely. Because I
okay.
was so, yeah, because that was the security that I really felt that I needed. But then now, like, I really don't care about money anymore so much, like,
Okay, so this is where you were experiencing. Is this the North Node also shows us where we're kind of afraid to go into? It's like the North Node is like the jungle ahead of us. Here is
mm,
where we've been.
yeah.
It's like oh, familiar territory, and all of a sudden North Node's like oh, I know. Do you feel like so? So you feel like it's regarding finances that you kind of. But you said you don't care much about money anymore. Okay, that makes sense. But it's in the
Yeah.
second.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a big transformation for me because,
Mm, mhm, mhm.
it used to be something so, like, important I felt for my survival. But then now, like, I got to a point where I can really relax, and
Okay.
then the finances, I feel quite confident that whatever I need will be there for me,
Okay.
that I don't have to worry about my survival.
Mhm. Let's try this one. Let's go with to all objects. It's gonna be messy. Bloop! Look at that. Okay, now
Oh,
we see.
wow.
Okay, so that means that all the planets that I put in here are, okay, I see here. Oh, you have a trine right here. Ceres, trine. Okay, that explains. Okay, you're able to trust in your inner abilities to parent yourself, as you said earlier, with
Yeah.
relationship with the communities. You kind of have this awareness, or like at least you've experienced this sort of like internal processing of who you can trust or not trust
Hmm.
with, and then sort of see how that represents in a way your own self worth. Um, and you're able to kind of you this is where so your the third house also represents taken for granted skills, so your ability to charm others is also here because it's in Venus is in Taurus, so you're able to charm others into believing that probably maybe a certain stubbornness comes through, and then this is what I feel I'm worth, this is what I value, so you kind of just go okay. Is that right?
We can definitely charm others. I think so.
Okay,
Absolutely.
okay.
And I
So,
love it.
okay. But this comes naturally, of course. This trine you see here, this blue, it's actually thick because there's two planets here trining your Venus, and then trine Venus trines your oh Venus and Pholus. Venus and Pholus. Okay. Pholus is a new planet for me. It's actually an asteroid. Pholus represents
Oh.
cause and effect. It represents choices and decisions that we make so that we can make the right one, whether or not the consequences are good or bad. But you know how to work with that. You kind of know how to charm your way into understanding what you value, and so you know how to work with it because it's in conjunct. Conjunct placements are powerful and also comfortable at the same time, depending on the planets. But here, Pholus and Venus kind of work together because you kind of have to weigh things in. You know, Venus is also the word esteem and the word estimate is the same thing. It's value. It's what you, yeah, it's what you kind of see where things are. You kind of weigh things. Cool. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, you'll get what I'm saying too because you do have Mars. So you have Mercury in Pisces. You'll understand what I'm saying. So, okay. So, okay. But remember that whenever you see a trine, because it's a comfortable placement, because it's harmonious, what I usually tell people is be careful not to be too complacent. Because something will happen and all of a sudden, what? Someone probably challenges your own worth. Someone challenges, because Venus is closer to your own personality. If Venus is the stronger planet here. Venus is worth itself worth. So it ties in a lot to the ego. It's the closest. It's the closest. The second closest sun to the second closest planet to the sun. So.
Okay.
Yeah. So am I talking too fast? Okay. Are you okay?
No, okay. No. Yeah.
Okay. So. And also watch out for that. But the thing is, what awakens that is kind of like, you see this like line here, Pluto, all the way to Venus?
Yeah.
Yeah, that thing itself will actually awaken you because it helps you to balance what is true. Because remember, Pluto is not just about it's not just about power. It's also about revealing what's hidden inside. So genuine things. But again, because it's retrograde, right there, it's an internal process. It's something probably you still question in terms of, maybe now it's a little different because you've grown up, right? So, yeah. So it will release itself through when you start to make more risks, when you start to take more risks in like ventures, it probably like pop out and you start to go like, okay, so now I think I know my worth a lot better.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah.
I tend to go right into square aspects. So oppositions are oppositions, 180 degrees, give or take 8 degrees before or after each one. They're called orbs. I don't know if you know this one. It means that it's most powerful if it's a perfect conjunction. That means if a planet is, let's say Mars here was in 5 degrees and Neptune is still in 5, it's a perfect conjunction.
Yeah.
Depending on the minutes too. If the minutes apparently is below 30 seconds, and the other one is 49, that means even though, let's say Mars would be if Mars were 5 degrees and minutes is 30 or less, it's not a perfect conjunction. If it is, so at here, because it's above that, and if it was 5 and Neptune is still at 5, 49, and Mars was in 5 but 44, it's a perfect conjunction because you see what I mean? Yeah. But it just means that's where it's the aspect is where it's more at its most powerful.
Right. Okay.
Anyways, the point is oppositions are 180 degrees, squares are 90 degrees naturally.
Yeah.
Okay. And trines are 60 degrees. This trine that you saw here, this little triangle that you saw there. The series trines Mars, Neptune, Mars trines Pholus and Venus Pholus trines series. It's actually called a grand trine because it's literally connected. It's grand.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm going to go right into the big ones here. So you have Moon, Mercury, square, Chiron. Ah, okay. This is where the wounding comes in. This trauma thing you're talking about. Um, yeah, definitely. So your mother passed away at a young age, you said?
She left. So
Oh, she
my
left.
parents separated. Yeah, when I was 9. But she
Ah,
had
you see that 10 right there?
she
That's, yeah, that explains that. 10
yeah,
degrees?
and
Yeah, that's the time. Yeah.
oh really?
Hmm.
Yeah, and then but she had schizophrenia. So but which my dad didn't tell me until I was 18, just before he passed away. So
That explains this. That explains the Uranus right there. Okay. Because schizophrenia is, right, you believe, okay, the
yeah.
Uranus there explains the uncertainty, the imbalance, the nervousness, the sort of erratic energy, but it's
Mm.
personalized. For you, probably this would have been, this is probably, do you find that you sometimes get erratic energies? You probably inherited from this a little bit because it is the moon. The moon is also our DNA. It's our instincts.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sure. Like I used to be more, I think so, like it,
Okay.
erratic, you know.
Okay. Yeah.
Mm.
Okay. And with it,
Yeah.
yeah. Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
Um, yeah, but my mum didn't pass away
Oh,
though,
so
but
she just left. Okay.
yeah, so I didn't see her. But I just have a feeling she did pass away recently, but I have no idea. But then my dad passed away when I was 18.
Okay. I'm gonna do something here. I'm gonna close that one, and I'm gonna do a different chart for you. It's still natal, but it's called a chart progression. Wait, wait, wait. When did your dad pass away?
When I was 18.
Do you know what the date was for that?
Oh yes, this he passed away in 2005, October, say 12th of October, 2005.
Okay. Um, yeah. Yes. But if it's we also have Uranus right here, also retrograde. Uranus was in retrograde 7 degrees Pisces. Yeah, that explains it. Because you have Uranus right here, Uranus retrograde. Was it kind of a gradual thing? He didn't pass away right away, right? He was a little bit more gradual.
No, it was really sudden. It was a stroke. So it was very
Okay,
sudden.
okay.
Yes.
Sudden changes to okay, okay, that makes sense. But it's square Saturn, your natal Saturn right here. And the
Hmm.
Venus right there shows that something to do with a relationship. That makes sense. Okay. Um, did you probably had to go through a lot of it's definitely a trauma. This is where Pluto comes in. Pluto is
Mm.
conjunct your Uranus right here. But with the Uranus in retrograde, it's again, it's just a sort of like you had to create certainties for yourself, but you still had
Yeah,
to go through the trauma, right?
yeah,
So when Uranus is at it's not retrograde, it's like the changes are sudden, it kind of just goes away. You know how to work with the energy. But with retrograde, it's kind of just goes, it just comes, and you never know when to expect it, and it's kind of just, it's hard to adapt a little bit, but it makes you stronger eventually because it's more internally processed. So you become more
yeah.
responsible for your own stability.
Yeah, it was definitely a lot of internal processing.
Yeah. But Pluto there is telling you, it's like, okay, this is the truth. This is what it is. Okay, so
Yeah, and it was so sudden, really
mhm,
shock of my life because
mhm.
I did really love my dad so much.
Okay, sorry about that.
Um, no, it's been
Mhm.
a while now, but
Okay.
yeah, yeah. But it's funny because like the older you get, you really feel the presence of your parents in your own DNA, and I
Uh-huh.
feel like
Mhm,
I can see things through his eyes now. And
mhm,
like a lot of things they used to say, I'm like, oh my god, I understand everything.
mhm.
Like a lot of things.
Yeah,
It's
that's
so incredible.
it is definitely as you older you get, but it's kind of funny because we think about it and we look at the moon that represents our soul, soul journey, or our inner self, our instincts, our DNA, our ancestry, heritage, and we look at the nodes of the moon, but also Lilith. Lilith is our instinct, our inner sort of our carnal self, more animalistic self, and
Mm.
embracing that. But the moon ties us to our past. The moon ties us to our most primordial self, up to the
Yeah,
point,
right.
yeah, up to the point where, because the moon represents also security, moon represents our senses, the vibration, magnetism, what we're drawn to, but at the same time, it creates a veil. Like if you look at the history of our moon, the planet's Earth, like our moon itself, how it was created, it was actually out of the destruction of kind of a sister planet. She was called
Oh,
Theia,
yeah.
and what happened was Theia was. Oh, hello.
Yeah.
Okay, so I just something popped up. Okay, so Theia collided with the early Earth, and what happened was born like dust first, and then after millions of years, it developed into the moon today.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so Diana is a representation of the moon, or in Greek mythology, she was Artemis. But Artemis, her mother was Thea in Greek mythology, which
Mm,
is funny because it's like, oh,
yeah.
so she had to sacrifice herself. So Thea was something about being reborn through a journey of, it's not sacrifice, it is, what do you call this? It's like, it's related to fame as well, because the moon rules the fourth house. Fourth house also, it's our fame after death. So DNA.
Um, oh,
Yeah. So
right.
that makes
Yeah.
sense. Why? So it's most likely your mother line, like your mother's line,
Yeah.
the mitochondrial DNA that's passed on to you, but also your father's line.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So, but the father technically is represented kind of by Saturn, but more like authority figures. That's Saturn.
Yeah.
With the sun, it's more the father figure. The father figure is, if you look at the sun, most of the stuff we have on Earth, our resources, the elements on Earth, any sort of resources come from planet, but it was born out of the life-giving energy of the sun. Without a
Mm,
star, planets would not be here. So the father also gives birth.
yeah.
So both are there. So it's kind of, the sun reflects the giving birth process that is there, but the moon represents our lifelong and lifetime long processing of experience and sensing and growing and, um, you could say, dying and kind of death and rebirth, sort of. It's
Yeah.
a little similar to Pluto, but in a way,
Mm.
yeah. Right? You kind of sense what I'm talking about, so it's like, yeah.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And the DNA. Yeah. Right.
So I think at that time too, you also had to question I see here, the North Node. You had to process collective destiny and what that meant for you as an individual. Because you have here
Mm.
North Node in Aries, but your North Node, your own natal North Node is right here. North Node in transit is it's not a body, of course. It's part of the moon, but North Node transit here is definitely showing like kind of had to figure out what did the collective want versus what do I really want? How am I part of this whole thing? But then, so you had to that was put into question, I would say.